Hey, hello, how are you? So, how come I was like not complaining, but kind of complaining about how am I the asshole? The subreddit always like gets me fired up and stuff. Well, after the last couple of adventures into other subreddits, I think it's hard to deny the fact that r slash am I the asshole is one of the best subreddits in terms of content for this channel. So let's see how fired up I get again today and take a look at it, shall we? Okie dokie. So let's take a look. Oh, I need to make it bigger. Am I the asshole for being surprised that my brother-in-law wanted to use a surrogate? I don't know. Hello, I recently found out that my older sister and her boyfriend have been having trouble getting pregnant. We aren't close. The only reason I know is because she asked me if I would be willing to be a surrogate for her, as I am the only sibling who has had successful pregnancies. One sister is too young and the other is child-free. I said no, she didn't push it, and I didn't press for any other details, so that was the end of the conversation. More recently, we were all visiting my parents. My brother-in-law ended up talking to me and asking about my children, so I asked in turn about their current situation. He told me they were planning on using a paid surrogate abroad. I was surprised by this. My brother-in-law is an incredibly sensitive man, super conscious of social issues like vegan, eco-conscious, fundraisers for various human rights causes, etc. He isn't annoying about it, but it's a very prominent part of his personality. I asked him if he had any ethical concerns about it, assuming he'd know more about it than I would. He wasn't sure what I meant, and I told him that I was ignorant about it in truth, but I'd heard some feminists found it controversial. The conversation fizzled out, and I thought no more about it until I got a string of very angry and upset texts from my sister asking what I'd said to her boyfriend. The gist I got was that he'd looked into the topic himself and decided against it, and that they should adopt instead. I defended myself because of the type of person that he is. He probably would have come to that conclusion on his own regardless, and I'm sorry I had a casual chat with my brother-in-law. I've been blocked now, I think. So am I the asshole? My parents are constantly nagging me that she and I aren't closer, so I know this is going to cause issues. Interesting. Okay, so when I first read the title, I was like, how is that something to be an asshole about? But I think it's not the surprise, the OP surprise that's the key. It's then the conversation that she had with the brother-in-law, right? So my thoughts just taking a look at this is if she doesn't want to be the surrogate, that's absolutely fair enough. Like, there's no issue with her saying no. Where I was a bit like, I'm not sure about that, is when, I'm trying to look for it here, when she said, I asked him if he had any ethical concerns about it. Because that to me, I don't know if that's the way she asked the question, but just saying, like, just at like a barbecue or wherever it was, she said she was having conversation with someone and saying, oh, do you have any ethical concerns about that? That sounds like you're specifically making a dig at them, saying this is ethically wrong. Do you realise that? And I think that as the person who they originally asked to be a surrogate and said no, it's a bit on the bordering offensive side to be like, I'm not going to do it, and if you try and get someone else to do it, I'm going to tell you why that makes you a horrible person. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of vibe. So again, I don't know if that's the actual way that she worded it with the brother-in-law or with the sister or anything. Maybe she said it in a much gentler way and this is just paraphrasing, but that was, something I thought of. But then what is good is that when she said, I told them that I was actually ignorant about it in truth, but I'd heard some stuff. So I think that's that kind of pulls it back a little bit to be like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just wondered because, this seems to be the kind of thing that you care about. I just wondered if that's something that you weighed up as part of your decision-making process. I'm always of the opinion that, like, I don't really understand why people are so keen to have biological children, and adopting seems to be a last resort for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, like, if it's a primal thing and you're like, I want to carry on my genes and that part of it is important, then fine. But it always surprises me that so many people say that being biologically related isn't important, yet adoption would be an absolute last resort and they don't want to do it. Yeah, but anyway, so, I mean, purely going off what OP says, it seems as if the brother-in-law had gone ahead with the surrogacy and then only found out after the fact that there were issues with it and that it was problematic, that would probably weigh on his conscience later down the line. Again, we don't know what kind of conversation the brother-in-law had with his partner, OP's sister. Maybe, you know, there were some things that were a little bit misinterpreted or miscommunicated or whatever. In general, honestly, I don't think the OP was being an asshole. It was something that came up in conversation. As I say, at first it seemed a little bit cheeky. But if it was said like in a more like just curiosity type way, then I think it's okay. But this kind of thing as well, I think it depends a lot on the personality of the people on the receiving end of it, especially if it's something that they're sensitive about. They might be more sensitive about it and take it in a bad way. But I think that OP's sister's reaction is like, it's just one of these things. It's like drama, you know. It's like, I get the impression that she couldn't have really said anything without it being an issue. So yeah, whatever. And my parents are constantly nagging me that she and I aren't closer. To be honest, it's got nothing to do with the parents. Like, you as a third party cannot really have a say on whether or how close two other people are. Like, I think that's much of a nothing, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people or parents insert themselves and try and guilt trip people for not being closer, but honestly, I don't think it's got anything to do with them, to be honest. Okay, that's short, and I wasn't too fired up there, but it is very warm. The weather is very hot recently, so that's why I'm a little bit flush. All right. Next. Am I the asshole for removing my son's door? Very Freaky Friday. Am I the asshole for removing my son's door? Ryan is 16 and we live in an old house, so the locks on the doors are janky. We're slowly replacing them, but due to the type of door, we need to get custom stuff or it won't work correctly. It's that or replace all the doors, and we don't have money for that, so custom locks it is. My son's door is usually locked either on accident, by accident. It annoys me so much that people nowadays say on accident because the proper English is by accident. Anyway, or because he wants privacy. That's fine, and we didn't have a problem until now. I check on the kids usually before I go to bed. Sometimes his door is locked, so I just say goodnight outside the door. Last night he had the door locked but was playing music. I was late, so I told him to turn it down. No response, so I knock. Nothing. I call him and it goes to voicemail. I'm panicking at this point and I think he's hit his head or something. No answers to anything we do, so we take the door off the frame. He's not in his room. He came back at 4 and was at a party, so he'd snuck out. That was the situation. As punishment, his door is removed since of the lock. Anyway, the door's been removed and it will stay off until he gets a new door in about 2 weeks. That door will have the normal doorknob lock. My husband and I agree with this punishment, but he told his friends and one parent keeps blowing up my phone calling me an asshole. Well, that's inserting yourself into a situation that has nothing to do with you. Obviously the kid's not going to like it, come on, but the other parent, not even a relative or anything, not that that would make too much of a difference. But not to mention the argument I got in with my son. It's for 2 weeks until his door gets here. I need an outside opinion. And to add, I can't just remove the lock because it's actually built into the door. It's not going anywhere, and we have to have the locksmith change out the locks. Well, thanks to a comment, I checked to see if it was a parent. Apparently there are ways to make the incoming message look like it's from a different phone. So it was actually his friend. And I contacted the parents. Apparently he snuck out also, and his parents apologised to me for their son's actions and told me they will deal with it. That's interesting then. So when apparently another parent was blowing up OP's phone saying that they were an asshole, it wasn't another parent at all, it was the friend of the son. That's interesting. Is OP an asshole regardless? How old is he? 16, right? I don't think OP is an asshole, and I think that there are genuine practical reasons for having to remove the door because of the current lock situation. And yes, I think that children should have to face the consequences of their actions. However, when someone is in their formative teenage years, there is a certain amount of privacy that they need, and I think that also establishing and teaching boundaries is important. So if you tell your child privacy is a privilege, you're not allowed to have your own space unless you meet certain criteria, I think that can become very dangerous in future and can be damaging in ways that in the moment we probably wouldn't be able to understand. And I say that from experience about stuff that happened in my childhood that now in my 30s I'm still super fucked up from it. So in that respect, I definitely think that I don't like the word punishment because that sounds so like not good. I forget the word for it. But I do think that it's would be in everyone's best interest to somehow discipline the child in such a way that isn't so potentially damaging, subtly or not, to the child's self of sense and boundaries and sense of what they do and do not deserve, what is and is not conditional. I think that everyone has a right to privacy, and again, especially in those formative years where, kids are going through a lot of stuff, I think them being able to have some privacy and feeling safe also in their own home is an important thing, right? What would I suggest instead? I honestly don't know. I mean, confiscation of games consoles and stuff like that, is always a popular option, but it really depends on, the specific situation. But I do really I wince at the idea of removing someone's door as punishment. As I say, it's very Freaky Friday because certainly in the Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis version of Freaky Friday, that was one of the punishments that the child got for, I don't know, whatever it was, but she got her door taken off, and I just don't think that's wise in the long term. But no, I don't think OP is an asshole. I think they're trying to do their best to parent, and as I say, they have genuine practical reasons of why that was the outcome in this particular situation. So yeah. Next. Am I the asshole for not letting my stepdaughter stay in the camper with us? Possibly, potentially. My husband and I have 4 kids combined. 2 are mine from a previous relationship. He has a daughter that we'll call Callie from a previous relationship, and she's only 11 years old. And we have a daughter together as well. We have full custody of all the kids. Neither my boy's father or her mother are in the picture outside of maybe once a year whenever they see fit, basically. So they definitely are the primary parents in the kids' lives. Anyways, Callie is generally a sweet girl, super sassy and bossy, but still sweet nonetheless. However, when she sees her mum, she does a complete 180, and to put it bluntly, makes it very hard to be around her. She comes back with the nastiest attitude and princess syndrome. Well, her mum wanted her last weekend, she wanted to go, etc. She's been rotten ever since. We had our annual camping trip planned, so this came at a bad time. We headed out Monday after she returned from her mother's. We have a large camper, which is about 63 foot. I don't really know how long that is, but it's big. The boys get the 2 bunks. Callie gets to pull out in the living room, and there's another bunker, but she doesn't want to sleep in there with the boys, which is fair enough. And then her youngest son stays in our room. Within an hour of being at our campsite, it starts to downpour and doesn't stop for 4 days. Callie is literally losing her shit. She starts screaming at any of us for going to her bedroom. This includes walking by to get to the boys' bunks, trying to sit on the couch to play board games or watch TV, screaming at us if we block the TV at all to grab anything in the cabinets behind the TV, yelling at me and her father for eating on her couch, and telling us to stand and eat. There's not enough room for us to sit at the table with the kids, etc. Every time we spoke to her, we were met with, well, I don't want people in my space, or you're blocking the TV, and an eye roll. I talked to her father and said that as soon as it stops raining, she will be staying in the tent. I'm at my wit's end. He agrees. So as soon as the rain stopped, he set up the 2-room tent outdoors and him and her stayed out in the tent for sleeping. Good, because I seriously thought that you were just sending her out there on her own, so I'm glad that's not the case. This rubbed her the wrong way because she no longer had access to the TV or charging points to charge her tablet, which she's constantly on video call with her friends from school. She said I was treating her differently because she's not mine, and I have never said that, as I've been the mother figure in her life for 6 years, and I always say my kids, including her. So now I'm curious if I'm wrong here. As her family, her husband's parents, say I'm an asshole for alienating her from the camper and that she's just a kid. What about the dad in the situation? He agrees. It's not like it was just OP saying, yeah, she needs to sleep outside and that's that. And he was like, oh no, really, it's not that bad. Oh, well, if she has to, I'll go and sleep out there with her. No, they both agreed to it as co-parents. So why is OP taking all the heat for it? What, because she's a woman? Because she's not a family member and they're the ones treating her differently? Okay? Like, it definitely does sound as if she's been a wee brat for whatever reason it is. And it's difficult because, again, you want to discipline kids, you want to treat them the right way, but there are obviously lines that you don't want to cross. And if a kid calls your bluff, then what do you do about it, you know? I'm not a parent myself, so I don't fucking know. I only know from being a child what is not fucking okay. So what's the in-between, you know? What's the middle ground? As I say, I'd initially thought that OP had sent the daughter out by herself to camp, which is absolutely not okay. But now knowing that actually the dad went with her as well, so they're together, they're safe, there's no issue there. Honestly, I think it's fine. I don't think she's the asshole at all. And if she is the asshole, then so is the dad. Like, she shouldn't have to take any more responsibility than him because it genuinely sounds as if they made this decision together. Not the asshole. And you know what? See this thing of other family members chiming in? It's like... It's difficult because, as I say, I had a lot of shit done to me when I was a child and no one fucking gave a shit, no one cared, no one bothered, no one ever intervened, even though they did know about it. So in that respect, I'm like, oh, why do other people not bother to do anything? But then in this situation, I'm annoyed because people get involved when it's like... I don't know. I mean, it's as I say, it's a difficult kind of thing to balance, you know. Where's the middle ground? I think a lot of the time it depends on the specific situation and the specific family dynamic. It's not always so clear cut, but I don't think OP is an asshole here. I think it's fine. Next. Am I an asshole for not letting someone back in the line? Maybe. Let's see. So my partner, who's a 24-year-old female, and I, who is a 24-year-old man, we're lining up for this popular restaurant with wait times of usually 45 minutes to an hour and a half. The people in front of us, a mother and a child about 10 years old, left the line for about 5 to 10 minutes and came back trying to retake their position. By this time, the line has grown by one more couple. The people previously in front of us argue, but we were here before. But they eventually go to the back of the line. We do feel bad, particularly because there was a child, and if they had told us in advance that they'll be right back, then we wouldn't have minded. Am I the asshole? Edit to add, it wasn't a bathroom break because the child went in the restaurant alone to go. I mean, if it, like... So when I read this, my initial thought was if it was literally just popping closer to the door to see, like, is there also a queue inside? What's the situation? How busy is the restaurant? And then they came right back, then I would be like, yeah, that's an asshole situation. But you've left for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm sorry, but you're no longer in the area. I highly suspect that they went to another restaurant to go and see what it was like there. It was probably just as bad or worse, and that's why they came back. And I agree with OP if they'd said, like, oh, I hope you don't mind, we just need to go and do something, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, then it's totally fine. But they left, and there was only one couple more by the time they came back, so it really wasn't that bad. It's not as if it was like a huge massive line and then they need to go all the way to the end, and even if that was the case, that's their choice for leaving the line in the first place. Like, I'm British, so we care about lines and queuing and proper line etiquette, okay? Like people here where I live in Germany, they don't give a fuck. You could have been waiting there for half an hour and they'll just march straight up to the front and the people will just serve them. They won't even say, sorry, there's a queue, these people were in front of you. They'll just like act as if it's totally fine, and that really bothers me. It's for sure a cultural thing, but for me, in my context, I find that really rude and extremely aggravating, so not the asshole. I'm surprised because we usually think people are super assholes. Maybe this subreddit has sensed how fired up I normally get, so it's just given me a few less heavy ones to dig into. Maybe. Am I the asshole for telling my husband to just shut up and eat what I make? Probably not, but let's check. Over my last year, my 30... I hate when people put stuff in brackets this way because it confuses me. So OP is the one who's a 39-year-old female, not the husband. The husband is a 32-year-old male who has been obsessed with his YouTube fitness channel and how he looks. He's a very handsome chap. At times in our 8-year relationship, there have been times he's been a little on the heavier side, BMI of about 27, so not massively. He's been binge watching so many YouTube videos about diet, fitness and lifestyle that he now can't even contemplate that he becoming obsessive. I think the OP is trying to say that he doesn't even realise how obsessed he already is. I think. He now has minimal body fat, but every day tells me he needs to lose more fat. He now critiques every meal I cook because he can no longer eat carbs or cheese or whatever. We cook all our meals from scratch. Sometimes we go all in and have a mound of pasta or a really cheesy pasta bake, but I think that we eat pretty well. I'm the one who has a sweet tooth and he has to cut out on indulgent stuff, which I think is great. And he has cut out indulgent stuff, which is great because I guess they just all eat the same meal. He's now got to the point where every meal has to be managed. Everything we buy has to be a high protein version. He thinks people who eat white bread are asking to get cancer or illnesses. He's also at the gym 4 nights a week, and he usually goes once we are asleep. So he's like sneaking out the house while the rest of the family's asleep to go spend time at the gym, basically. Today I lost it and told him that I will not be micromanaging his household meals. And we have a son who's only 1, and we are a family, and I'm going to cook homemade food. And if he wants to live in a house where all food is super healthy and anything else is to be feared, well, he can go and live on his own. I admit the diet isn't amazing, but I also think it's not the most damaging. I eat takeout once a month, and a few nights a week I'll polish off a bag of sweets or a chocolate bar. I'm not going to feel too guilty about it. So, am I the asshole for telling him to shut up and eat a home-cooked meal, or go and take his obsession elsewhere and to stop obsessing about his body? I don't think you're an asshole, OP, but this thing about like telling him to shut up and stop obsessing about his body, he could genuinely have something like body dysmorphia, where he it's a more serious issue than you realise, that he really doesn't feel good about himself, and that's why he seems to be obsessing over it, because it's actually like a deeper thing for him. So first word of caution is just to try and be a little bit sensitive of that, maybe have a discussion about it, and maybe through that you'll be able to come to a solution together that you're both happy with regarding the situation. OP didn't explicitly state it, but the first thing I thought when I read the title, and I'm still thinking throughout this post because she also didn't explicitly say that it wasn't the case, it seems to be that OP is the one making all of the fucking meals, and so husband just complains about what's on the table and never actually makes it himself. So if he's not willing to take responsibility and make his own fucking meals, and he just thinks that he's got a personal chef and housekeeper in his house, then he can go fuck off. But if he is also making his fair share of the meals, and the wife just says, I don't want to eat it, you can eat it on your own, then I think there's an issue there, you know? I think if someone wants something in a particular way, they have to take responsibility for that thing, unless there are, specific circumstances where they just aren't able to do it for whatever reason. But if he has the ability to cook and he's just not bothering, then fuck him. But if he is, making the meals and you just don't want to eat them, then maybe you're on the unreasonable side. You know what I mean? So I don't think people are necessarily in asshole territory yet, but I think it's something that you should sit down and have a more serious conversation about, because I imagine that it's probably just fights here and there or complaints here and there, like, oh, why are we having that again, or oh, why did you buy this kind, you know, it's that kind we need to have, and that kind of thing, you know. I mean, even if, for example, say that OP loves to cook and she would rather cook all the meals, but the husband wants something specific, well then he can go and do all the shopping so that by the time the wife cooks, she's got all the type of ingredients that he's okay to eat. You know what I mean? We need to find, again, some sort of middle ground, something that's going to be respecting the boundaries and wishes of all parties, but at the same time, you know, not making anyone absolutely miserable. No assholes here, I think, just people who need to talk. Shall we do one more? One more. These have been quite speedy again. I'm getting better at this, like not talking so much about it, but I don't know, do you prefer when I like spend a long time on them? I don't know, whatever. Am I the asshole for ordering my coffee in a takeaway cup but drinking it in the cafe? Probably not an asshole, but not that friendly to the environment. I think that was going to be boring. I'm not going to bother with that. Am I an asshole for giving away an ex-bridesmaid's gift? Probably not. So this is a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I recently got married over the weekend. I had a party of 8, but my good friend since high school dropped out a few days before the wedding without any reason, just fucking didn't turn up. I know her job gets stressful, so I didn't push for an excuse, but okay, so she still attended the wedding, but she just said, I'm not going to be bridesmaid anymore. What about the dress? Who paid for it? When I did the proposal boxes, I told everyone that they should expect to spend about $500 for their outfits, okay, and bachelorette stuff. So the bridesmaids are having to pay money out of their own pocket. No one seemed to mind the cost. Well, no one's going to tell you they do, let's be honest. In exchange, I spent a good amount on the bridesmaids' gifts, like skincare, robes and slippers with their names on it, spa gift certificate, things like that. The bridesmaid who dropped out has a basic name like Hannah, so I just gave her gift box to my cousin since I couldn't get a refund on most of the items. My cousin and my sister were showing off their gifts on TikTok, and my sister told me that Hannah had asked her if they paid for the robes during the wedding. My sister didn't think much of the question and told her it was a gift. This morning, Hannah asked me when she could pick up her gifts. I told her they were a thank you gift to my bridesmaids and she attended the wedding as a guest, so I gave hers away. Her mum called... How old is she? Why do you need your mum to call up? Her mum called me and told me I was being spiteful for giving away her gifts, especially since she attended all the bachelorette events, not the rehearsal dinner, but the bachelorette party, dress shopping and the wedding. Since we have been friends for so long, I should have considered her feelings. I told her I didn't even think Hannah was coming and it wasn't a big deal. Was I being an ass for giving away? It hurt me that she dropped out, but the gifts were for my party. No, you're not the asshole, and I'll tell you for why. Someone who thinks they are entitled to a gift, they're the ones being an asshole. Don't get me wrong, if she was a bridesmaid at the wedding, if she didn't drop out and she was the only bridesmaid that didn't get a gift, yes, you're an asshole, but she dropped out. She is the one who decided not to be a bridesmaid anymore, and now, instead of being like, oh, that's a shame, I saw that they got gifts, like they look really cool, oh well, I wasn't a bridesmaid in the end. But no, she's like, where's my gift? When can I pick up my gift? Being super assumptive, thinking that she's entitled to a gift. Like, no. It's like, if you were to say, right, if you got offered a new job, which you accepted, and then 2 days before you were due to start your job, you said, sorry, I'm not going to start with you anymore, and the company said, okay, fair enough, best of luck in your future endeavours, and then at the end of the month, you got your mum to call them up and say, hey, why haven't you paid my daughter's salary? That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, come on, just because you're close friends. I mean, if anything, being close friends, she should know not to be such a fucking asshole. Do you know what I mean? And then not get her mum to call up for her. I mean, I don't know if the friend got her mum to call up for her, or if the mum's friend was just inserting herself in the situation. But either way, you cannot expect to be entitled to a gift. It would be different if the OP, if the bride had said, oh, it's a shame that you can't be bridesmaid. I got you a present anyway, and maybe we can get together at some point and I can give it to you. But judging from the post, that's not what happened. And yet, it's a shame that Hannah paid about $500 for all the bridesmaid stuff. But did she still go to the bachelorette party? Yes. Did she still go to all the other events? Yes. Did she choose to buy the dress? Yes. Could she return it if she wanted to? Very probably. And did she choose to not be a bridesmaid anymore? Yes. It was your decision. Deal with the consequences. Like, I maybe wouldn't go quite so far as to call Hannah the asshole, but she's definitely in the wrong. She's not entitled to anything here. Fair enough if she's like, look, I tried to return the bridesmaid's dress, but I'm having a problem with the shop. Can you help me out? Is there anything like you can do to whatever? Fair enough, you know, when are you going to wear that dress? But it was your choice. Like I say, like if you decided not to join a company, you don't then call them up and demand a salary. That's just fucking stupid. Anyway, shall we finish there? I'm roasting. I'm all flush. I'm all pink. I'm roasting. I'm going to go turn on my fan then. I hope you enjoyed this installment of Am I the Asshole? Back to our usual more spicy content, I think. If you enjoyed these, go check out some more videos. And yeah, thanks for joining. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.